Hello and welcome to another Pauper Buyer's Guide or a set review of the commons of the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set. It's we're here. We made it, I guess. I don't know. I like the Turtles. I was a fan of them growing up. I have a bunch of the toys still. I played a lot of the video games. I didn't really read the comic books, but this is a franchise that means something to me, and yet I still am not very excited about a whole Magic set dedicated to it. But we are going to take a look at all the commons as we do here on Common Knowledge. We'll give you a general idea, some first impressions on whether these things are good or not, where they might be good for. I am going to put scores to these, but don't think the scores are gospel. I tend to spend a little bit more time in our normal 10 cards episodes, where I think those scores are more official. I think the scores are generally pretty stupid anyway. I just feel like I should give them scores. But we'll go through all 72 commons in the set, and we will start with Action News Crew. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2 human citizen. It's got Vigilance, and it's got Channel for 6. That's fun. I do appreciate that. You can discard this card and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and draw a card. All right. It's a bear. It's a grizzly bear here, a 2-mana 2/2. But it's got Vigilance. That's kind of cool. And the Channel ability obviously is expensive and obviously more of a joke, like a reference to Channel 6. That's fine. Is it actually good though? Does a mono white deck that wants to go wide use this? It can draw you a card. It does put a lot of counters on your creatures. So it is something that can be used in the late game. It's something that can also kind of work in the early game too. It's not the best creature ever, but a 2-mana 2/2 with Vigilance is not embarrassing, at least. I don't know. I don't particularly love it. Channel's a cool ability, though. I do really like Channel as an ability. It's hard to counter. You have to have a stifle kind of effect, and those just don't show up a lot in Pauper. So you're going to be able to get this spell down, or this ability down. Draw the card. Give everything a +1/+1. If you're in white, you're playing that Battle Screech and plenty of other little guys, and they can all use a little 1/1 counter boost sometimes. And you can also do that at instant speed. That's pretty cool. Overall, I don't think it'll really see a whole lot of play, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody tries a copy or two of this just to see if it works in a mono white go wide deck. Let's give it a 3.3. Yeah. April O'Neil, that's her name. Kunoichi in trainee. I was going to say in training, but trainee. Legendary creature, human ninja, 2/2, and when she enters, you scry 2. And April can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. All right. Hopefully, I won't have to do this for the rest of the common legendaries here. I don't like common legendaries generally, and it's not that I think Cast Down is some kind of all important card that we need to preserve and keep safe and keep relevant in the format. It's not that. I feel like the spirit of Pauper is playing with not bad cards exactly, but playing with the rank and file, and when you put legendary creatures in it, I don't know, it loses some of that. Hey, I'm just playing with the flunkies. I'm just playing with the grunts, and I think it kind of loses. I think the Pauper format kind of loses something by having a bunch of common legendary creatures. Legendary and common do not feel like those are antonyms, right? Like those shouldn't necessarily go together. So I don't love it. I do think it's interesting from a mechanical standpoint, and yes, I do think Cast Down is maybe a little too strong. So it is kind of nice to know that there's ways of getting around Cast Down. by having a couple legendary creatures in the format that are halfway decent. But I still don't love it. And thankfully, so far, most of the legendary creatures have been underwhelming. And we'll get to I know at least one, but we'll see if that holds true throughout. So April O'Neil here, also a grizzly bear, 2 mana 2/2, and when it enters, it's Scry 2s. So does the Orzhov Blade decks want this to be able to bounce it back and forth? Probably not really. What would you rather have, like a Lembas that can scry 1 and draw, or a 2/2 creature that scries 2? I think I'd probably honestly go with the Lembas most of the time. You can put multiple Lembas out on the table at once. You cannot do that with April. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. That's interesting if you are able to put some kind of auras or equipment on her to boost her power and especially her toughness, because then if she can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater and you make her toughness more than 3, or you make her toughness 3 or greater, then people are gonna have a hard time blocking her, or at least blocking her with a single creature. You'd have to block with multiple creatures that are small, and that's kind of cool. She's all right, but I think Scry 2 is not particularly amazing. It's you could do better. I'll still give her like a 3 though. Seems kind of solid. Eastwind Avatar is 3 and a white for a 2/4 bird spirit avatar. It's got flying, it's got vigilance, and it's got alliance. Whenever another creature you control enters, this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. I think that's pretty normal. I do like alliance as an ability. I like that they brought it back for TMNT. I think there's some pretty cool alliance things that you can do. This is probably one of the least interesting ones, though. 4 mana for a 2/4, even with flying and vigilance, is not amazing. And yeah, it's cool that you can boost its power by putting down creatures, and white certainly can go wide, and decks with white in it can go wide to give this a decent power boost for a number of turns. But I think generally you're paying 4 mana for a 2/4 flying vigilant creature, and that's it's kind of whatever. I'll give it a 2.3. 2.2. Grounded for Life is 4 and a white for an instant. The spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature. Destroy target creature. We've gotten a lot of these before, right? But it's just no, Ride's End. Isn't that the best one these days from Ether Drift? Yeah. So same deal, tap permanent, but this can exile creature or vehicle, and exiling those things is much better than just destroying it. And it's only a creature. The other one does vehicles. Not that there's a ton of super playable Pauper vehicles, but you would play 4 copies of Ride's End before you ever imagine playing Grounded for Life. And I don't think you need that many cards in your deck that do that kind of ability. So let's give this thing a 2, I guess. Hamato Guardian Stance is a single white mana for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+3 and gains flying until end of turn, and you scry 1. That is an extremely normal Magic card, and I think we just have better ones. Like we have the scry here, I guess, is the gravy, but I prefer the gravy that is, it untaps the creature as well, so you can use it more as a scarier combat trick to block and use defensively. This one you kind of can only use offensively unless the opponent already knows that you have a blocker. I guess you can surprise by giving a grounded creature flying, and I don't know. I don't really like it. I'm going to give it a 1.9. High Flying Ace is 2 and a white for a 2/3 bird mutant. It's got flying, and for 3 and a white, target creature without flying gains flying until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. 3 mana 2/3, even though it flies, I don't think that's amazing. Like, yeah, that's like a Windrake. Better than a Windrake, honestly. And the ability, sure, it costs too much, but as just a thing that's stapled onto a slightly better Windrake, I guess. I don't really like it. I don't particularly like it. Do I like it more than Hamato Guardian Stance? I don't know. It's about the same. I'll give it a 2. I was just kind of thinking about scores, which I shouldn't. Scores do not matter. Scores are just kind of an off the top of my head thing. Jenica, Bad Apple Big Sister, is 4 and a white for a 3/3 legendary creature, mutant ninja turtle. When Jenica enters, you create a 2/2 red mutant creature token, and it's got plain cycling for 2. All right. We got more land cyclers. We get these mostly in every set. These are strapped onto, or this one at least is strapped onto a legend. I think most of them are strapped onto legends. And I think that's kind of cool, even though, again, I have my issues with legends and Pauper, the Pauper format just generally. 5 mana for a 3/3, obviously not amazing, but when you get the 2/2 token in here as well, it is basically 5 mana for 5/5 worth of stats. I think it needs a keyword to really kind of, well, not to put it over the edge, because I don't think it's over the edge at all. But I think it needs help. I think it needs help if you're going to try playing this in Pauper. I think it needs a little something more. And the plane cycling, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, plane cycling, any cycling, land cycling ability is really good. But again, Lord of the Rings just murdered all these other cards dead by having their cyclers only cost 1. The only one maybe we consider, and we'll look and see where we get to the blue card, because that's got Lorien revealed, and if you need a creature as your cycler, maybe you'll want this instead. Not this one anyway. So like your question is this better than the Eagles that we currently have in Pauper? And Eagles is one of the least played of these cyclers, but I think it's a little less that the planes are bad. No, it's a little less that the Eagles are bad themselves. The Eagles are fine. They're not amazing. They're not as good as the other land cyclers for sure. But I also just don't think plane cycling is as necessary in Pauper, because again, white is able to go wide and play really cheap creatures. You generally don't need planes. you don't need to find a whole bunch more lands, and you don't want to play a big creature on that to do it, because you're going wide. You want small creatures. Anyway, that's a very long way of saying I don't think Jenica is incredible. She's fine. She's fine. I'll give her a 2.4. Leonardo Big Brother is 2 and a white for a 1/3 legendary creature, mutant ninja turtle. It's got sneak for a single white. Let's talk about sneak here. You may cast this spell for a single white if you also return an unblocked attacker you control to hand during the declare blocker's step. He enters tapped and attacking. So a little bit like ninjutsu, but slightly different. Ninjutsu has fewer timing restrictions. I think it just has to be unblocked and attacking, so you can do the ninjutsu, I think, after damage has been dealt, because you're still in an attacking state. Ninjutsu is a little bit cumbersome. I understand. It's a little bit confusing to people, and it only works for creatures. Sneak, as we might see, I don't know if there are any common cards that have sneak that aren't creatures, but at least in the rest of this set, there are spells that can also have sneak. So a sorcery or an instant, or a sorcery that you get to play at instant speed because you use sneak. And that stuff's, I think, pretty interesting. I've always found the idea of ninjutsu interesting, and I don't think we get to use it as often as I would like in Pauper. Yeah, you get to use it in the fairies deck, and there's other fairy style decks that also can use ninjas and ninjutsu stuff. But I think sneak and web slinging a little bit back in Spider-Man, as we saw, those can do stuff too. The Spider-Man card that had web slinging, that was you get a 1 mana 3/3 that was legendary. People tested that out, and I think some people even kind of liked it in the mono white go wide decks. That you're bringing in a bunch of flyers, or you've got the inspectors, the novice and Thraben, the 1/2 guys that create a clue when they come in, and if you can swing in and one of those guys is unblocked because you're going wide, somebody's going to be unblocked, and then you bring in a big 3/3 and also get to replay your clue guys, your inspectors. That's kind of fun, and you can do the same thing with this. And he comes into play taps and attacking. I'm pretty sure web slinging doesn't. So that's also a plus. And Leonardo here gets an extra ability. Leonardo gets +1/+0 for each other creature you control, which is nice for the go wide decks. Yes, he gets to do that when he first comes into play. You can use it as kind of a surprise, dealing extra damage. And for the future turns, he can become, I don't know, like a 5/3, a 6/3. That's not terrible either. It's honestly not even that bad if you're playing it just for its normal cost, but when you get to play it for its sneak cost, that's pretty cool. The question is going to be whether it's worth it. And I don't know. The mono white go wide deck feels relatively set. But I think if you were trying to play Spider-Man in some of those sets, maybe you try Leonardo instead and see what happens. I think this is actually a pretty good card for Pauper. I could even potentially see it in some kind of Orzhov Blade decks. You sneak this in, bring your refurbished familiar back, then you get to replay your refurbished familiar. That's kind of cool. That's pretty cool. Then if you put enough stuff out, this gets even bigger and bigger as it swings in. I don't know. This is the first card I'm considering buying a couple copies of. I think I will just pick up 2. Let me write this down. Leonardo Big Brother. Yeah, I'll probably end up picking up just a couple of copies of this, trying it out in an Orzhov Blade deck just to see if it works. But I could see if you have a go wide deck or some kind of bouncy deck that splashes white in some form or fashion, that this is probably the best card we've seen so far. I will give this a very Pauper playable 5.8. Make Your Move is a reprint from Murders of Karlov Manor, and it was also put in Foundation. So this card is going to be in Standard forever. It's already in Standard twice, so why not throw it into Standard a third time? It's fine. It's actually not a bad Magic card. 2 and a white for an instant. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with power 4 or greater. That does a lot of things. That stops a lot of stuff for only 3 mana. And only 3 mana is actually the reason it's not played, is because it is a lot of mana considering the other cards that you have access to that can destroy stuff. But this destroys a lot of different things and costs nothing. You think about a card like Generous Gift for Commander, and you go, well, that's 3 mana and it destroys stuff, and it leaves a elephant, leaves a 3/3 elephant for him. This one says, screw the elephant. Like, artifact, enchantment. Sure, it doesn't hit lands or planeswalkers or battles, but it hits the main 3 permanent types that people are doing stuff with. And I don't know. I think it's a pretty decent card, especially if you're making like a budget commander list. For Pauper, I don't really like it for Pauper. I think there's just better stuff that costs 2 that's maybe a little bit more limited. What was the Spider-Man one we saw? Spectacular Tactics or something that hits a lot of similar kinds of things with this. Destroy Evil hits a lot of similar kinds of things as this, and those cost 2 mana instead of 3 mana, and so I generally will want to play those instead. It's not a terrible card though. I'll give it a 2.5, but I would also rather play the ones that don't have Turtles art in them. Uneasy Alliance is 1 and a white for an enchantment aura that enchants a creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block, and you can pay 5 and sacrifice this aura to exile the enchanted creature, and you create a 1/1 black ninja creature token. But you can only activate it as a sorcery. That sucks. This should be at instant speed. That would be much better. You could do cool combat tricky stuff with it. Get a block in, or do it at the end of your opponent's turn, and then have the attacker for the next turn. I think when you hamstring it this much, cards kind of lame. We got something like this in Lorwyn, didn't we? There's like a way to give a creature. It's a pacifism that can then exile the creature. Actually, maybe we got it in Avatar. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. They're not amazing cards, but I don't know. I don't particularly like it. Let's give it a 1.7. Yeah, it's cool that you can exile the creature, but again, as sorcery speed, it sucks. Super sucks. Moving on to the blue cards, we'll start with Buzzbots for 1 and a blue. It's a 1/1 artifact creature robot insect. It's got flying. It's got vigilance. When this creature dies, you draw a card. Hang on, didn't we basically just have this in Phyrexia LB1? Flying vigilant. When it dies, you draw a card. What the hell was it called? It started with. Oh, what's his name? Phyrexia LB1. Actually, you know what? Not blue. Commander blue. What's his name? Malcator's Watcher, that's it. Yeah, Flying Vigilant. When it dies, draw a card. 1/1. Same card. So the question is, do you care about Robot Insect or do you care about Phyrexian Drone? And honestly, they're both kind of bad. I did play this in Standard for a little bit because you could like back in like Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, where artifacts and enchantments mattered, and you could put auras on this thing, and this was actually a really good thing to put Zoetic Glyph on, and that made it pretty cool. Oh, big flying vigilant guy, and if they target to kill him, you still draw a card off the deal. Like, that's pretty cool. And yeah, there's similar things you can do with Buzzbots. This is out of Standard at this point. And this is in Standard, so you can go back and, and use your Zoetic Glyphs on this guy. You can also use it on Oaken Pirate, or Oaken Siren, which is a pirate, which does a pretty similar thing as well. I don't know. These guys are kind of fun, but I wouldn't put them in your Pauper deck. And I don't think Robot or Insect is a particularly useful creature type for the Pauper environment, especially not in blue. I don't know. We haven't seen anything in blue that really does much of anything. I think it's fun. I like a creature that is flying and vigilance. Those are nice things, especially against something like fairies. It's cool if you put equipment or auras on this guy, make him even stronger. Something they have to deal with, and if they do deal with it, then you still draw a card. You kind of get you replace the creature once it dies, and that's all right too. It's just a little normal, and let's give it a pretty normal score of a 2.43. 2.3. Crustacean Commando is 1 and a blue for a 0/3 crab mutant soldier. When this creature enters, you create a mutagen token. Let's talk about mutagen tokens. They are new to this set. It's an artifact with pay 1, tap, and sacrifice this token to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Activate only as a sorcery. I think this thing is pretty cool. So the question really is, do you play this over the you can play lots of different things, but what's the Avatar card that was blue from Avatar? She makes a clue token when she comes in. She's like an inspector, but for clues. Forecasting Fortune Teller. So two mana, 1/3. When it enters, you create a clue token. Which one's more important to you? Is drawing a card? Probably drawing a card. But I do like that these mutagen tokens, they're kind of like map tokens when you think about it, except they guarantee to get the counter, where the map tokens can sometimes draw you the land instead, and sometimes you don't want to draw the land. In fact, I would say most of the time when I'm using a map token, I do not want to draw the land, and so this says, what if you didn't? What if you just could guarantee the counter? And that's all right. Yeah, the counter can only be at sorcery speed, but there's lots of creatures that want counters. I'm thinking about another Spider-Man card, the flying the flying one that has, or the Ward 2 one that when it's modified it has flying. And this is a good way of modifying it, giving it that +1/+1 counter. Now it becomes a 3/3 flyer with Ward 2. That's pretty good. You can do some other things with it too. That's nice. So will this be a big staple of the bounce decks, the blink decks that can put down some of these counters? Probably not. Probably not amazing, but I could see this working. I've got a blue-black deck that has indestructible creatures, and that's made makes them out of the indestructible lands that you have, or you can use your nutrient blocks and things like that. And the idea that I can continually blink this guy and get more mutagen tokens, and use those for affinity for artifacts things, and you play your refurbished familiars because this guy cheapens them, and then you put the counters on your refurbished familiar because of the mutagen token, and now you've got bigger flying creatures. That's pretty cool. I think people will try to make this work. I might even try to make this work. So I'll probably pick up 4 copies of this. This says it's $1 right now. That is definitely going to go down as the set actually gets opened. But yeah, I think this is all right. Now I've got to write the word crustacean, which is a longer word, and the word commando, which is also not short. So let's go for 4 copies of that. And yeah, I think this could be kind of cool. I think the Fortune Teller is generally going to be better. And also it has a point of power to go along with the 3 toughness. Whereas this guy is a 0/3, but it's not too bad. And if you are playing blue, this is, you think about like a card like Hard Evidence. This is that 0/3 crab that also investigates. And that's all right. That's all right. But people use it, abjure with that. This is another blue permanent that you can abjure away and still keep the token and do stuff with. I don't know. I think people will try this one. I'm going to give it a... Is it better than Leonardo? I think it has the potential to be better than Leonardo in the decks that want to play it. I think this has 4 copy potential, where I think Leonardo really only has 1 or 2 copy potential. And that, I don't know, matters for a score, I suppose. Let's give this I'm going to give this a 6. I'm going to give this a 6. And that's, again, a very preliminary score. We might find that this is pretty useless, and then I would bring it down under a 5. But I think for now, I'm bullish. I'm bullish on Crustacean Commando. Donatello Turtle Techie, he is 3 and a blue for a 3/4 legendary creature, mutant Ninja Turtle. And when Donatello enters, if you control an artifact, you draw a card. That is just too normal. It's just too normal. I think it needs something like Sneak to matter, like a sneak cost of 1 or 2 to make you go, oh, okay, well there you go. That's the reason I can play this. 4 mana 3/4, not very good. And yeah, like Pauper's going to let you draw the card because there's plenty of artifacts out there, and you don't even have to do anything. You don't have to sacrifice an artifact. You don't have to tap an artifact or anything. You just draw the extra card. But for 4 mana, no, we're not really playing that. I'm gonna give it a 1.5. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Like, it's fine once it's on the table, but getting it on the table is a chore. All right, here's another one I'm somewhat cautiously excited for. It's Mind Transfer Protocol. 2 and a blue for an instant. Until end of turn, target artifact or creature becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 4/5, and you draw a card. We've seen a number of these kinds of effects. In fact, I was looking at one halfway recently. It was Serpentine Ambush. Yeah, target creature becomes a blue serpent with 5/5, so it kind of becomes like a Tolarian Terror. Isn't that cool? And that's that's a fun little combat trick. This works on artifacts or creatures, so you can turn a map token in or an artifact land into a 4/5. Block a creature, or swing in with a 4/5 that they didn't expect you to have. Make a refurbished familiar into a 4/5. Force a bad block instead of a trade. I think all that stuff is really cool. 3 mana is asking a lot, but it's also drawing you a card at instant speed as well. Like that's not bad. That's not bad. And I think if you can get this in like a familiars deck, that's starting to to throw a few too many things in at once. You know, familiars and affinity and blah 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 blah. But I like it. I do just kind of like it. I'm probably gonna pick up a couple of copies. I still think something like the Serpentine Ambush is generally probably better, and there are other cards that can do this kind of thing as well, and it might even be able to do it for artifacts as well as creatures, but just wouldn't draw you the card. Some people might say drawing the card is the best part of this card, but I still like the combat trickiness, the usefulness on offense and defense, the surprise factor of it. I kind of dig it. I'm gonna pick up a couple copies, so let me write that one down. To Mind Transfer Protocol. Not too bad. All right. Negate. Hey, Negate's been in Magic for a very long time. Negate, pretty good card. It's used sometimes. Sometimes. I think actually in Pauper we probably don't play it enough. And that's because we are able to play. It's crazy to say, but 2 mana counter spells cost a little too much in Pauper these days. You know, you'd rather play your more specific ones like Annul or Spell Pierce, Abjure, Force Spike. Like there's just enough 1 mana counters that can get the job done, and that it's really hard to justify 2 mana counters. And it's also hard to justify 2 mana counters when you could just play normal counterspell in Pauper. Negate's still good though. Don't get me wrong. Negate is still an incredible card. God, what do I give Negate? I don't know, like a 7. Negate's good. Negate is good. My favorite Negate art is this Dominaria United art for sure. I don't really know what April taking out a plug mean. I guess she's negating its power, its electricity. It's kind of whatever. Anyway, Retro Mutation is 2 and a blue for an enchantment aura that has flash and it enchants a creature. Enchanted creature is a turtle with base power and toughness 0/1. It can't attack and loses all abilities. Huh. Flash speed's nice. 3 mana is a lot. 3 mana is a lot for this ability. We see a number of these kind of Rebluval style, you know, give an aura that makes the creature kind of useless. You know, thinking about some of the ones that I know and like, we've got Eaten by piranhas, not skeletons. It turns you into a skeleton. Eaten by piranhas that has flash, and that's 2 mana, but it makes it a 1/1. So sometimes not particularly as good. Let's see the one that I think gets played probably the most. Single mana. That means a lot. Turns it into a 0/2 toy, and it loses all abilities. That's okay. This line doesn't matter nearly as much. But yeah, turning something into a 0/2 with no abilities, you know, but if it's still, you could put counters on it or auras on it, and this thing still becomes it can still attack, right? So we're saying you pay 3 mana now. It's a 0/1, loses all abilities, and it also can't attack. So even if they do load it up with other things, it's still only going to be able to block. 3 mana is just so much. Even with the instant speed that Flash gives you. If this was 2 mana, I'd be all about it. And I think at 2 mana, it probably would be a little too good. But at 3 mana, that's more than I want to pay for this kind of ability. I'll give it a 3.8. Still pretty good. Still pretty good. Return to the Sewers is 3 and a blue for an instant. Target creature's owner puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of their library, and you create a mutagen token. We've seen some of these kind of time ebb style effects from blue, and they're trying to find ways of giving it enough gravy. I don't think the mutagen token's enough gravy. It is nice that I have always enjoyed the effect of, do you want to screw up? Like, it's a real tempo mess up for the opponent, because if they put the creature on the top of their library, they know what they're going to draw next turn. So it screws up their draw if they were hoping to draw something else. And it forces them to spend the mana to play the creature again. That's pretty good. That gives you a decent amount of tempo, right? Or they could choose to put it on the bottom, and then it's basically like you just remove the creature, and that's nice too. 4 mana is a little tough to take. It's nicer that it does make you an artifact token. It's nicer that artifact token can give one of your creatures +1/+1. It's okay. It's okay. Let me look at Time Ebb again. Time Ebb, I think it just goes on the top, right? Yeah, it just puts it on the top. It's 3 mana, though. That's sorcery speed. This is instant speed. So they are just trying to make better Time Ebbs over time. And this one's okay, but I just don't want to pay 4 mana for this effect. 4 mana for a removal spell feels bad. And you do have to take into account that it's not just a removal spell. It's some removal, some tempo, and putting an artifact counter on, or putting an artifact token on the battlefield that can give you a counter. Like, these are all good things. Are you going to pay 4 mana for it? I don't know that I am. Let's give it a 2.4. Surveillance Cam is a single blue mana for an artifact. It's got flash, and when this artifact enters or leaves the battlefield, you may tap or untap target creature, and you can pay 3 and a blue to sacrifice this artifact and draw 2 cards. So, trying to kind of do a Cryogen Relic thing, but almost like a reverse Cryogen Relic, right? Cryogen Relic says when it enters or leaves the battlefield, you draw a card, and then you can pay the thing and sacrifice it to tap a creature and get a stun counter. But so you're sacrificing it to do the tap ability, and the passive, the triggered ability is the draw. And this one goes, well, what if the tap ability was the triggered ability and the activated ability was the draw ability? I think that's fun. And because obviously the tapping or untapping is less good than than drawing a card, you can make this 1 mana. You can give this flash. I don't know. I think you could probably end up doing some really dirty things with this. There's probably some infinite combo potential of being able to blink this and untap something and tap that, and it can make more mana or something. And I don't know. I don't know the line, but I think somebody's going to find a way to abuse this and do some really cool things with it. And so I'm probably going to pick up 4 copies just to have them. In some ways, this is it's kind of like an Ilvoid Galeblade, right? One single mana, flash speed, instant speed, but this is a flying creature, and this is going to be better for like your fairies decks and stuff like that. I think Galeblade's a really cool card. It's also a little bit like a Harrier Strix in a way, right? Harrier Strix. This doesn't have flash, but when it comes to the battlefield, it taps a permanent. So that does similar kind of stuff. I don't know. I think this has the potential to do something in Pauper. It obviously needs some other pieces around it to make those things work. But I think the things it could be capable of are pretty powerful, and I'm really interested to see what people smarter than me are going to be able to do with a card like this, and then we'll all steal their deck lists. But I'm going to give this a 5.8. I'm going to give this a 5.5. I'm going to give this a 5.5, but know that could shoot way up once somebody unlocks how to really make this card broken. I just don't know how to do it yet. Stockman Mad Flyentist is 4 and a blue for a 3/4 legendary creature that is an insect mutant scientist. It's got flying. When it enters, you draw a card, then discard a card. And it's got island cycling for 2. This is this better or worse than Jenica, right? I think it's better. Jenica was a 3/3 that made a 2/2. And this is a 3/4 that flies. And it loots. And it island cycles. If you are in a deck, it's weird to say, but if you're in a deck that doesn't want Lorien Revealed, and that's kind of crazy because Lorien Revealed is really good. But if this is a way, I suppose, of putting more blue into some dredge style decks. Being able to island cycle this guy. He's not the best dredge target though. He's just a 3/4 that can loot, and 3/4 flyer that loots. But I think he's more interesting than some of the other cyclers we have here, and it's really just because Lorien Revealed a sorcery and not a creature. So to have another cycling creature is all right. And we've had plenty of other creatures that island cycle for 2 mana. I don't know that they're necessarily better than this guy. You know what? We can check. We can check. We've got time, right? Island cycling. Let's go creature. We'll look at all of them, I suppose. The Dagger Maw. I don't know, 5/7. That's okay. The Giant Koi we had. Yeah, that's neither of these are. Enters, tap a guy and put a stun counter on. That's not very good. Yeah, I don't think any of these are particularly good. That's common? Yeah, that is common. Ward 3 is not bad. Yeah, he might be one of the better ones in the bunch. He doesn't fly though. This one flies. That's also not particularly good. Tax, tap 2 other untap. Yeah, I don't particularly like that either. Yeah, he's got to be up there. Compared to the rest of these guys, he is a little less power than some of the other ones, but he is just a strict upgrade of Shoreline Ranger in every conceivable way. Well, I guess not every way, but he's same power and toughness, 1 less mana cost, and has the loot effect that this guy doesn't. So, yeah, I don't know. It's something to consider if you're playing those blue decks that want a cycler. And need it to be a creature. I think he's one to consider. He's also legendary, though, so I guess that matters a little bit if you try to play more than one copy. I don't particularly like him, though. Let's give him a 3.6. Utram Scientist is 2 and a blue for a 2/2 artifact creature, Utram Robot Scientist. And when this creature enters, you tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it. I think it costs just a little too much. I think this needs to be 2 mana. And the stun counter is probably too powerful to make it 2 mana. I get that, but it's a grizzly bear that costs more than a grizzly bear does. Yeah. Yeah, I don't particularly love this. I will give it a 2.1. Anchovy and Banana Pizza is 2 and double black for an artifact food. When this artifact enters, you destroy target creature. And it does the food thing. You can pay 2, tap sack it, and you gain 3 life. So 4 mana to destroy a creature is more than you want to pay. I understand that. I'm still thinking about Orzhov Blade decks and Blink decks and just having something that you can blink and destroy target creature outright. That's not bad. You've got your Tithing Blades and things like that will make people sacrifice creatures, but being able to have targeted removal on an artifact, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. 4 mana is still a lot though to get this on the table. And if you're in a bounce deck, you don't really want to be bouncing this and paying another 4 mana to put this on the table. You really want to be able to ghostly flicker this or have other kind of flicker effects. And then it's slightly better. It's interesting though. I am interested by it. I'm going to give it a 3.6. I don't know if I'm actually going to buy any copies of it, but it's not too bad. Bebop Warthog Warrior is 4 and a black for a 5/4 legendary creature boar mutant warrior. It's got menace. Rhinos you control have menace, and it's got swamp cycling for 2. So obviously he's not a rhino, but Rocksteady is a rhino. And I believe the Rocksteady card gives boars trample, maybe? Give boars something. So it's fun that these two guys can work together. I think he's just a little too normal though. He's 5/4 menace for 5. It's okay. It's okay. Are you gonna play this over Troll of Khazad-dûm though? Never. Troll of Khazad-dûm has better stats, has even better menace than this, and swamp cycles for 1. And sure, it costs more, but you're not paying the cost. You're dredging this. You're exhuming it. You're raised deading it, and or not raised dead. You're reanimating it in some way. So I don't know. This is probably a fine limited card, but in terms of Pauper, I think sees 0 play. Let's give it a 2, I guess. Foot Mystic, that's what they call me, is 3 and a black for a 2/4 human ninja warlock with lifelink. It has disappear. When this creature enters, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, create a 1/1 black ninja creature token. That's kind of not terrible. 4 mana for a 2/4, and it's like, I don't know about that. 4 mana for 3/5 worth of stats, though. It's a little better. And has lifelink. Like this is a good blocker with lifelink. You don't get a ton of lifelink at common. So I think when you do, you've got to pay attention to it. I think it's just a little too normal though. Because you only get this once. The enters trigger with disappear. I think if this is something that could trigger once each turn, then we'd really be talking. Yeah, I think it's just a little too normal. I'm going to give it a 2.8. Insectoid Exterminator is 2 and a black for a 2/2 insect mutant. It's got flying. It also has disappear. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, you scry 1. I really like this disappear effect, and I think it's really easy to pull off in Pauper. Again, we talk about blink decks, we talk about bounce decks. You just have a lot of removal in black, so you can make permanents leave the battlefield. If a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn. Okay, so you can't just kill other guys' stuff, but sacrifice decks and blink decks and bounce decks can make something like this work. The problem is it's a 3 mana 2/2 flyer, and that's Wind Drake with gravy that has to be some real good gravy, and I think this is pretty good gravy. Um, yeah, it's almost there. It's almost there. Let's give it a. It's kind of like this one, right? Like it's almost there, but it's just not quite there. Let's give it a 2.7. Uruku Saki Shredder Rising is 2 and a black for a 3/1 legendary creature human ninja with sneak for 1 and a black. And when Uruku Saki deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose a life. Guys, I don't know. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at Ninja of the Deep Hours. 4 mana, 2/2, human ninja, ninjutsu for 1 and a blue. So you're paying the ninjutsu cost. Comes in, now you got a 2-power creature instead of like your little fairy, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. 2 damage, draw a card, 2 mana. 2 mana, draw a card, 3 damage. It's interesting. Does Dimir Fairies play this? Mono Blue Fairies obviously doesn't because this is black, but Dimir Fairies is also a deck, and that deck can make use of some additional ninjas. The Mokutai Ambusher, I believe, that's a 3/2 with lifelink, and that's a cool card to use, especially if you're playing against something like Mono Red or some kind of burn deck where you need to just gain some life and extend the game out. But this one's also interesting. Still draws you the card, but does a little bit of extra damage to it. Legendary creature, so it can't be cast down. I might play a copy or two in Dimir Fairies and see what happens. I don't know if you necessarily take out the Moon Circuit Hacker, because that can ninjutsu for 1. But I don't know. This is really worth trying in Dimir Fairies. I have a mono blue fairies deck, so it's not as interesting to me, but it's not bad. And it doesn't just have to be fairies either. Like you could play this in Norsoff Blade or Bounce deck, right? Bring back your Glint Hawks or your core Skyfishers, and then those can bring back your Blades or your Grim Baubles, and then you keep playing those and bouncing them back and forth. It's interesting. You know what? I actually will pick up a couple of copies to potentially try, because I did put Mokutai Ambusher in my Orzhov Blade deck, and it's all right there. And maybe this guy is all right too. Drawing cards, certainly something. Yeah, I don't know. This might be okay. Shredder Rising. Interesting. 2 copies of that. Why not? Losing a life, certainly does mean something in Pauper, but drawing a card means a lot more most of the time. That's not bad. And 3/1 of stats. Sure, it can be popped with all sorts of things that hit people for 1, but the extra point of power, though, that's interesting. I like it. Oh, we didn't give it a score. 6.3? 6.4? Let's go with 6.4. I really like this. I really do. Pain 101. God, are we really naming cards these things? 1 and a black for an instant. Until the end of turn, target creature gains Death Touch, and when this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. It's not bad. It's it's not dead after all. Costs an extra mana though. The not dead after all is nice because the creature dies and then it comes back even stronger because it has the Wicked Roll token on it. How about fake your own death? That's a little bit closer. That's the same mana cost. it's not death touch, but giving your creature another 2 power is a way of making that trade. But then when it comes back into play, you also create a treasure token. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But, sometimes if you're putting this on a creature, maybe it still doesn't kill. Like maybe it still doesn't kill the Solarian Terror or the Gurmag Angler or something like that. And this says we'll kill it. We will kill it with Death Touch, and then you get the creature back anyway. You're gonna have to make that decision for yourself on whether the treasure token matters to you, or whether the Wicked Roll token matters, or whether paying 1 mana over 2 mana really matters to you. There's a number of these kinds of effects. I think this one's interesting though, as a way of giving Death Touch. Is there another one that gives Death Touch though? Let me see here, because it sounds. Oops, I got rid of my Scryfall. Let's put the text in here and go black and see if it's just Pain 101 that comes out with that. No, it doesn't. Doesn't even give me Pain 101, which it might just be because this card's too new. It's not as searchable that way. How about just Death Touch? And when this creature dies. I thought there was something that did something like that. Oh god, this is not as helpful as I needed it to be. Well, there's Pain 101, so that's interesting. No, not quite the same. I thought there was one that did something like that. Maybe there's a black card that gives Indestructible and Death Touch that I'm thinking of instead. So the idea that you get to keep your creature and give it Death Touch to kill somebody else. Anyway, this is all right. This is all right. Again, your mileage is going to vary based on the exact kind of effect that you're looking for. But I think this is a halfway decent one. Let's give it a 3 point. No, let's give it a 3. I think 3 is fine. Shredder's Revenge is 2 and a black for a sorcerer. You choose one. Either target player discards 2 cards, or target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Interesting little, certainly an upgrade to a Mind Rot, which is the same thing, except it doesn't have the draw 2 cards part. A little expensive for both of these effects at this point, but I like the modality. The problem with a lot of discard effects is that you can get your opponent to the point where they don't have any cards, and then you go, well, oh man, all these discard cards do nothing. Like, what does your Mind Rot do when they don't have any cards in their hand? Like, it's dead card in your hand. So the idea that you can go, oh, I can also just draw 2 cards off it. And also, if your opponent's at 2, you can force them to draw 2 cards and lose 2 life, and then they die. That's cool. What is that? A Sign in Blood? God, I need to stop canceling out of these tabs. Yeah, Sign in Blood. So it's a Sign in Blood and a Mind Rot. Costs the same as a Mind Rot. I don't think this is Pauper playable. I don't think so. It's close. It's close. I'm going to give it a 4.1. Because it's also like a black divination. That's all right. I don't know. 4.1's maybe a little too strong. Maybe I'm a little too high on this, but I like the modality. I like that it can do things at any point in the game. I like that it can potentially kill a player, or at least do damage to them. That's all right. That's all right. I'm going to stick with a 4.1, but know that it probably is closer to 3.5 or something like that. But I don't know. I like it. We get these all the time. Squirrelinoids is a single black mana for a 1/1 squirrel mutant with Death Touch. 1 mana Death Touchers. We kind of get them all the time. There was one in Edge of Eternities that was an artifact creature. That might be more useful to you if you're playing that. Maybe you're playing something that has some kind of affinity. That card also sees no play, so I don't think this one's going to see any play either. It is a squirrel, though. I don't think that matters for Pauper, but it might matter if you're your squirrel-based commander deck or something. Maybe just having a Death Toucher that you can probably make huge with some squirrel shenanigans is interesting to you. For Pauper, though, it's a 2.2. Like, these are fine. Stomped by the Foot. One and a black for an instant. It's got Kicker. You can sacrifice an artifact or creature. All right, I'm interested already. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. If the spell was Kick, that creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. Interesting. Interesting little removal spell here. I mean, it's 2 mana for a stab, which is pretty bad. So if you're not kicking it, you're not getting good value off it. But if you are kicking it, you get pretty good value off it. And sacrificing artifacts and creatures is something that black can certainly do. Some decks really want to do it. I don't know. I do like that it's -/ instead of just destroy. That can get around some nastier abilities like indestructible. I don't know. I'm kind of not hating this so much. Let's give it a 2.8. No, I'll bump it up all the way to a 3. This is interesting. I don't think I need copies of it, but I don't hate it. Tunnel Rats is 1 and a black for a 2/2 rat, and for 4 and a black, you can return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So this one is just a Grizzly Bear. A Grizzly Bear that can come back for 5 mana. 5 mana is a lot of mana for this, but most of the creatures that can do this are 1/1s, like little skeleton guys that can come back, or zombie guys that can come back, but they're only 1/1s, and that's kind of not amazing. Some of them, I think, can only do it at sorcery speed. So it is nice that, you bring this back at the end of your opponent's turn, and now you've got another 2/2. I just think we have better ways of reanimating creatures, and because we can reanimate those creatures, we don't need something that reanimates itself, especially when it's just a 2/2. Yeah, I think this is just a little too normal. Yeah, just a little too normal. I'm trying to think of ways that I would want this now. Do you give it Death Touch, so then you can bring back a Death Toucher each time? Maybe even Lifelink. You give it Lifelink instead. There's some things you could do that would make me more excited by this, but as it is, I'm not particularly jazzed about it. Let's give it a 1.8. On to red. Bot Bashing Time. 3 and a red for a sorcery. Bot Bashing Time. Deal 6 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, you exile it instead. Normal. Very normal. Not bad, just very normal. I'll give it a 2, I guess. Yeah. Manhole Missile is 1 and a red for an instant. Manhole Missile deals 3 damage to target creature. You may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. If you do, draw a card. Interesting. On the bottom of your library, so you're not discarding it. I guess. Honestly, that's worse. It's worse. So you'd want to be able to discard it, right? You want to be able to discard your Sneaky Snacker and then do the damage and then draw the card. I mean, yeah, the more I think about it, the more this is just worse than a Rummage effect. Kind of a lot worse. It's still 3 damage to a creature, though. That's not awful. Like it's a Lightning Strike. It's a Lightning Strike with some great. I mean, Lightning Strike can also hit face, though, so that's important to know about that. But interesting, but not good. I think. Let's give this a 1.6. No, it's better than that. It's like a removal spell. Let's give it a 2.2, I guess. Mouser Attack is 1 and a red for an instant. You choose one. Either you create a 1/1 colorless robot artifact creature token, or target creature gains +3/+0 until end of, and first strike until end of turn. That's kind of not bad. That's kind of not bad. 2 mana for a 1/1 isn't great, but a 1/1 with flash, still not that great. But it's kind of a combat trick at that point. That's interesting. And then also for a combat trick, you can just give a creature +3/+0 and first strike until end of turn. That's honestly not that bad. Like, this is some cool modality. I don't think either of these effects are incredible, but I think combined together into a single card for 2 mana, you could do a lot worse. Let's go with a 3.2. Kind of like it. Mouser Foundry is 1 and a red for an artifact. When this artifact enters or leaves the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless robot artifact creature token. Okay. And for 4 and a red, you can sack this artifact and deals 3 damage to target creature. I kind of like this a lot. I kind of do. Now your red decks can get in on the blink action. You know? Does Boros Synthesizer make a kind of a comeback with something like this? You know, you're able to play this, get the 1/1, Glint Hawk it back, get another 1/1, play it again, get another 1/1. That's not bad. That gives you a lot of artifacts on the table. This is cool. People will use this. I don't have a Boros Synthesizer deck. That's not exactly true. I have a Boros deck, and it plays Synthesizer, but I would not call it a Boros Synthesizer deck as such. Man, I'm gonna give 4 copies of this. This is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. Yeah, I still don't like the set flavor, but I'm kind of digging some of the cards we've seen for it. Mouser Foundry, I'm going to give you a 5.4. That's a good card. Mutant Town Musicians is 2 and a red for a 2/4 Mutant Bard Performer with Trample. It's got Alliance. Whenever another creature you control enters, this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So we saw the flyer, right, much earlier in this set review, and it was okay. It costs 4 though, and this one, has Trample and gets that same kind of ability, and I think it had the same stat line too. I think this is better than the flyer. Mostly just because it's cheaper, but also because Trample sometimes matters a lot more than just flying. There's lots of little flyers your opponents can make and block the normal flyer, but Trample's a little tougher to block. I'm gonna give it a 2.6. It's not terrible. Null Group Biological Assets is a ridiculously long and dumb card name. For 2 and a red, you get a 3/1 Mutant Mercenary. And during your turn, this creature has first strike. And whenever this creature attacks, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. It's close, right? It's close to being something. Having first strike when you get to attack is cool because then it also has this attack trigger. So it can attack in, I wouldn't say freely, but at least freer than other cards can. That's pretty good. And when it does attack, you get to rummage. That's pretty good. The things holding this back the most are 3 mana. It's asking a little bit much in red, and also 3/1 of stats. The 3 is certainly nice for the first strike, but the one just makes it really tough because there's so many ways of picking off little creatures like this. There's just too many ways to deal 1 damage or give -1/-1 to something, and then I think you feel like this is a little bit wasted. Still, having the first strike is pretty good though. I'm gonna give it a 2.8. Really? Am I gonna do better than this? 2.4. 2.4. I think this is worse than this. Not by much, but it's a little bit worse. Purple Dragon Punks, 1 in a red for a 2/2 human rogue. You can tap it to add red. Spend this mana only to cast an artifact, spell, or activate an ability. That's pretty interesting. We've started to see more of these red mana dorks. And we've also started to see more blue mana dorks that are conditional. The blue ones usually say you can only... Actually, they say what this is. You can only use it to cast an artifact, spell, or activate an ability. We've seen a few of those in the past handful of sets. But this one's in red. Does this go in like a Boros synthesizer? Probably not, but maybe. There's probably some stuff you can do with this card. I'm not thinking of a lot of it off the top of my head, but a grizzly bear that's also a mana dork for artifact stuff in red. Red doesn't get to do this very often. I don't hate it. I'm going to give it a 2.5. All right, Raphael Tough Turtle is 1 in a red for a 1/3 legendary creature, Mutant Ninja Turtle. This one's pretty good, unfortunately. Alliance. Whenever another creature you control enters, Raph deals 1 damage to target opponent. It's pretty good. It's an impact tremor on a creature. And, impact tremors, I would generally say, is better that it's an enchantment. It's a little less interactable, but this is still pretty good. This is still pretty good. 1/3 of stats. It can block a decent amount of things. Legendary creature, so it can't be cast down. You got to consider it, right? The thing I'd actually consider it most for might be a Gruul Eldrazi shell. Where you can play a bunch of the cards that will give you the Eldrazi spawns. Your Nest Invaders, your Repurposers, your Brood, Blood Brood, whatever that one is. It can make a bunch of stuff. Your Malevolent Rumbles, your Writhing Chrysalis, obviously. That's a way of putting this in. And then you could also... this is a permanent... Well, sorry, I was thinking of this is a permanent. Malevolent Rumble likes this, but also so is the impact tremors. Do you maybe you let some of the impact tremor, maybe you let some of the Malevolent Rumbles and the Brood Birthing, that's what it's called. Maybe you let a couple of those cards go, and now you can play Winding Way and Lead the Stampede, because now you have more effects like this on creatures. So now you're able to draw a ton of cards like that. It's worth thinking about. This is... It's pretty good. I'm going to give it a 6. I'm probably going to buy myself a play set of this. No, you don't play a play set, right? Because it's legendary. You buy more than 2, though? I'm probably still going to buy a play set, even if I don't think you'd put a play set into a deck. But, man... It's got my gears turning in a way that I like. I've been brewing up a Gruul Eldrazi Spawn Impact Tremors style deck, and I think the idea of being able to take out more of the non-creature spells, so you can play Winding Way and Lead the Stampede, is really interesting. And this is a card that helps to unlock that. Huh. Yeah. Did I give it a score? I can't remember. It's going to get a decent score here. I'm going to give it I'm not just doing this for the kids, but I'm going to give this a 6.7. Pretty good. Rock Soldiers, 3 in a red for a 4/3 elemental soldier. Artifact creature, ultimate elemental soldier. And when this creature enters, you destroy up to one target non-creature artifact. I don't think that's all that good. You know, what things are you really destroying here in well, actually, you know what? Like this is land destruction. If you're it takes out a great furnace or an ancient den or seat of the Synon. Obviously not taking out the bridges, but I don't know. No, it's still 4 mana for a 4/3. That's not that good. And then I just don't think there are that many targets for it that are that great. Like generally, if you're not hitting those lands, what are you taking out? Tokens, I guess. Big deal. You're taking out a Blood Fountain, I guess. Blood Fountain would be a pretty decent one to take out, I suppose. There's some stuff. I just don't think it's incredible stuff. Let's give it a 2. Zog Triceraton Castaway is 4 and a red for a 5/4 legendary creature, Dinosaur Soldier. It's got reach and it's got trample. When it enters, target creature can't block this turn. And it's got mountain cycling for 2. Again, here's the problem, and it's the problem you have to. It sucks. It sucks that you have to make this comparison, but you do have to make this comparison. Is this better than Oliphant? And I don't think it is. Oliphant's a 6/4. Mountain cycles for 1. Costs a little bit more to play, but again, you're not playing these. You're dredging them and reanimating them most of the time. And it also has trample, but it also gives another creature +2/+0 until end of turn. Does it give those things trample too? I don't think it does. I think it's just the +2/+0. And I think that's just better than this. It also this also feels like it should have haste, because when it enters, target creature can't block this turn. Like, you'd want to be able to swing in with this guy to do that, right? Like, oh, your guy can't block, and also I've got a creature coming in, and he's a 5/4 with trample. What are you going to do about it? So I think this card would make a lot more sense as a 5/4 haste trampler that had this ability. The reach, is it just because he has a gun? I guess in his art. The reach makes him kind of a mixed attacker and blocker, which is okay, but I think most of the time you're just going to be like, I would really prefer all attack on this one. Like, I wanted, he's got trample. I want to keep attacking with this guy. And so having reach is kind of odd with him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like it. Not just for reasons that it's a worse Oliphant in so many situations, but I don't know. I don't love it. I'm gonna give it a 2.9. It is still a cycler, and that's important to know, but it's not as exciting to me as some other cards. All right, let's speed it up a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Cowabunga is a single green mana for a sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a mutant, ninja, turtle, or land card from among them. Put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Cool. These are weird creature types for sure, but they can potentially get you some stuff. I don't really want to look through all the Pauper cards that are mutants, ninjas, or turtles. Maybe we'll do that when we get this in a 10 cards thing, but this gets an interesting suite of creature types. Also picks up changelings, remember that, and can also grab you a land if you don't find anything else other than that. It's not exactly like a bushwhack, but I think I kind of like bushwhack over something like this. But being able to grab the creatures is also pretty good too. I don't know. It could be all right. Let's give it a 2.4. Frog Butler is 1 and a green for a 1/1 frog spirit with Death Touch. You can tap it to add a mana of any color, and you can pay 2, and this creature gains reach until end of turn. So it's kind of like a reverse Poison Dart Frog from Lost Caverns of Ixalan. That had reach, but you could pay 2 to give it Death Touch. Otherwise, basically the same. This is a spirit as well. I guess that potentially matters somewhere. He's fun. He's fun, but Poison Dart Frog doesn't really get played in Pauper either, right? Like that's Poison Dart Frog's common, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. So see how it's just kind of the opposite. Has reach, can get death touch. This guy has death touch, can get reach. I think you'd prefer the death touch to the reach naturally on it. So this guy's probably slightly better, but he still doesn't really get played anywhere. Let's go for a 2.3. Guac and Marshmallow Pizza is a single green mana. That's single green mana for a food's okay. For an artifact food, it's got Flash. Wow, okay. And when this artifact enters, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and you untap it. Whoa. Hey now. And it does the food thing. This is good. This is actually really good. Really good. This is a pretty darn good combat trick. Untapping a creature and giving it +2/+2, plus it's a food, plus it's an artifact. This thing's kind of nasty. And not just because it's guacamole and marshmallows, but God, damn, this is a hot set of abilities on this thing. I like this. I like this more than I probably should. God, what do you give this? I'm honestly really high on this thing. I'm gonna buy 4 copies of it just to have them. But I don't particularly know what deck it goes into. But I think it might find a deck, right? You know, does it actually go in Golgari food pestilence kind of stuff, or not pestilence, but there's like Golgari food decks, right? That use the cat that comes back. Maybe flash speed. Also, think about this. It's also 3 mana to gain 3 life, and to have a combat trick, because you can sacrifice this at instant speed as well. So, whew, man, I think this is really good. I'm gonna give this a 6.2. Again, I don't exactly know where it goes, but I think it does enough stuff where people are going to take notice and find a way to play this card. Michelangelo, Game Master, 2 and a green for a 3/3 legendary creature, human, or not human, mutant ninja turtle. They're very much not humans. That's kind of the point. He's got disappear at the beginning of your end step. If a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Michelangelo. I think that's too normal. You know, it's a 3/3 for 3. He can become a 4/4 for 3 at the end of turn if something happened, if you set up the right effects. But he's vanilla, and that's not good enough. I'm gonna give it a 2.1. Mutant Chain Reaction is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Destroy up to 1 target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying, and you create a mutagen token. You know, it's a broken wings. Is that what that is? I don't think so. I think broken wings. No, it is. Yeah, it's broken wings. It's a better broken wings. Wait, broken wings is. Oh, I just did it again. Broken wings and learn to fly. That's instant speed. Okay, that is the difference. It's not just a better broken speed or broken wings. It is sorcery speed. That does make a difference. It's cool that it hits a lot of different things. Flying creature, artifact enchantment, and you create the mutagen token. There's lots of upside to it, but the sorcery speed kind of kills it dead, honestly. I think we don't even play Broken Wings. So Broken Wings that you can play at sorcery speed, even with a tiny bit of gravy on it. I don't love it. I'm going to give it a 1.9. Primordial Pachyderm is 3 and a green for a 4/4 Elephant Avatar. It's got reach, it's got trample, and when this creature enters, you gain 2 life. All of these are kind of good things, but none of these are good enough things that it makes me want to play this. You know, we have better ways of gaining life in green. We have better creatures than a 4 mana 4/4 reach trample. It does a lot of okay things. This is gonna probably be a real asshole in limited. Somebody puts this down and it's gonna be hard to stop. But I don't know. I don't particularly like it. I'm gonna give it a 2.4. Ragamuffin Raptor is 4 and a green for a 4/3 dinosaur. When this creature enters, return up to one target creature or food card from your graveyard to your hand. That's interesting, especially with that pizza that we just saw. The guac and marshmallow pizza. It's cool. It's a cool enters trigger. It gets a creature back to your hand, and the food too. But costs a little bit too much, and it's a little too vanilla. This is going to go in some dinosaur commander decks, though. I imagine it's going to be a great way of you don't have to pay. You don't have to play your. I mean, you probably still want to play the Eternal Witness, but it's a way of getting back. I don't know. It's a dinosaur that also does a lot of what an Eternal Witness does. And that's pretty cool. I don't think Pauper necessarily cares so much about it, especially when it costs as much as it does. I'm gonna give it a 1.9. Rocksteady Crash Courser is 4 and double green for a 7/7 legendary creature Rhino Mutant. Rocksteady can't be blocked by more than one creature. Boars you control can't be blocked by more than one creature. So it's not trample. It's this. Oh, I see. Okay, because Bebop gave them menace. This gives them can't be blocked by more than one creature. So you put them together, they can't be blocked. That's cool. Okay, I like the flavor of throwing those two together. I just don't think you're gonna actually make that work. And any forest cycles for 2. He's not as good as Generous Ent, right? Generous Ent makes a food. It's a 5/7 with reach. I don't know. Well, the forest cycling for 1 is the reason why you never play this in Pauper, but he's pretty good. He is pretty good. 7/7 that can be blocked by more than one creature. That's still relatively easy to just block forever. The trample I think probably would have been better, but I appreciate the synergy with Rockstar or with Bebop. Yeah, I don't know. He's for Pauper, he's just not quite good enough. He's close though. He's close. He's also much better than Bebop. I think you would play this. You could play this one sans Bebop. I don't think you would play Bebop without Rocksteady. I don't think you'd just play Bebop at all, really. But certainly not if you're not playing Rocksteady. Let's give him a 2.7. God, that's probably too high. But that's what I'm going to give him. Tenderize, 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. It's just a bite effect. We've had instant speed bite effects before. They're pretty good. This one's pretty good. Ram Through's already a card in the format that just does this, but better. You play 4 copies of Ram Through. That's kind of it. It's a 2.3, I guess. Zoo Escapees. Hey, it's Bebop and Rocksteady. 1 and a green for a 2/2 boar rhino. When this creature leaves the battlefield, you create a mutagen token. So it's a grizzly bear that has a leaves trigger. I like it that it has a leaves trigger and not a dies trigger. That's fun. But they're also escapees. So see, they left. They left, and then they left because they've got the mutagen in them to make them. The flavors cute, and I like it. But as far as a card for Pauper goes, this is just way too regular and normal. I'll give it a 1.5. On to the multicolor cards. We've got Foot Elite for 2 and a hybrid Orzhov mana. That's white or black. You get a 2/4 human ninja, and whenever this creature attacks, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. It's okay. It's okay. 3 mana, 2/4, kind of whatever. This targets another creature you control, so you can't ever give it to itself. 4 toughness means it's probably going to be able to attack in and survive a lot of stuff, but I don't know. I think it's pretty normal and not particularly amazing. Let's give it a 2.6. Foot Ninjas, 4 and double Orzhov hybrids. For a 5/5 human ninja with Sneak for 3 and a 1 Orzhov hybrid. When this creature enters, you gain 3 life. That's still kind of bad. Yeah, you could put this in Dimir Fairies. Yeah, you could put this in Orzhov Blade. You could do a couple things, but it's still a lot of mana to do this. The only other ninja that costs like around this much is the Okiba Gang Shinobi. And when that deals damage to a creature or deals damage to a player, they have to discard 2 cards. And I think that's a little better than gaining the life. And honestly, I've even taken Okiba Gang Shinobi out of my Orzhov Blade deck because I just felt like it was underperforming a little bit too much, and I don't think this is better. I'm going to give this a 1.7. Mauser Mark III is a 2/3 artifact creature. Oh, I should say what it costs. Mauser Mark III is 1 and an Izzet hybrid, blue or red, for a 2/3 artifact creature robot. This creature can't attack unless you control another artifact. It's fine. It's very, very normal, very boring. 1.5. Nobody is 1 and double Izzet hybrids for a 3/2 artifact creature human hero. When this creature enters, return up to 1 target artifact you control to its owner's hand and scry 1. I get what it's trying to do. Does this go in your Boros synthesizer? Does this go in mono red synthesizer? I don't know. I think it costs too much. I think 3 mana for this effect is a little too much. I think this had to be 2 mana, and then you can start going, oh, well, it's kind of like a core Skyfisher, but with you get the scry instead of the flying, and it's a 3/2 instead of a 2/3. I think we'd have to have a conversation about it then. But at 3 mana, we kind of don't. It's like a 2.4. Ice Cream Kitty is 1 and a Golgari hybrid, black or green, for a 1/3 artifact creature food cat mutant. You can pay 2, sacrifice another creature or token to draw a card, activate only as a sorcery, or it does the food thing. You pay 2, tap, sack it, and you gain 3 life. I think this is actually pretty good. Sure, you want free discard outlets not discard out, free sacrifice outlets in Pauper, and there's plenty of those, but those don't draw cards. This one does draw a card. Yes, it does it at sorcery speed, which kind of sucks, but also can sacrifice tokens. You sacrifice some map tokens, you sacrifice some food tokens. That's okay. I think this is actually pretty good, and 1/3 of stats is also going to hang around a decent amount. I don't hate this. I'm going to give it a 3.8. Putrid Pals is 2 and double Golgari hybrids for a 3/3 human ooze mutant with Death Touch. It's also got Disappear. This creature enters with 2 +1/+1 counters on it if a permanent left the battlefield under your control this turn. It's fine. It's fine. Like a 5/5 Death Toucher for 4 mana is all right. But I think it's just all right. Yeah, I'm going to give this a 2.3, I guess. EPF Point Squad is 1 and 2 Boros hybrids, red or white, for a 2/1 human soldier. And it's also got Alliance. Whenever another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. That's kind of not bad. 3 mana for a 2/1, not amazing, but there's lots of ways to put creatures on the battlefield. And this thing can get pretty big pretty quick. Still, he's vanilla, and that's a little rough. Man, he's not bad, though. He's really not that bad. Let's give him a 2.5. Mechanized Ninja Cavalry is 1 and Boros hybrid for a 1/1 artifact creature robot ninja. When this creature enters, you create a 1/1 colorless robot artifact creature token. So you kind of get what's the guy in standard right now? There's like a flash soldier that also puts a 1/1 body on the table, and that's cool. And that's a flash speed, so that's better. But this makes artifacts. This guy's an artifact, and he makes another artifact token. That's not bad for some affinity kind of stuff. You know, if you can bounce him too. You know, you play this guy, you get a 1/1 artifact creature. You bounce him with a Glint Hawk. You play him again. That's a lot of creatures on the board. That's a lot of good value. And then, you know, you've got, if you play this in like a Mardu Metalcraft something, you have another couple artifacts that work for your refurbished familiars and your Mirror Enforcers. Like, I don't know. I think this guy's worth a look. I think he's worth a look. I'm gonna give him a 4.3, I think. I think he really could be that good. Punk Frogs is 3 and double Simic hybrid, green or blue, for a 4/5 Frog Mutant Rebel with Ward 3. Interesting. I mean, so here's the thing. Like, it's not a Tolarian Terror. You know, you can't make this cheaper. So I think for the most part, this is kind of normal and whatever, but Ward 3 is tough to stop. Yeah, it just being vanilla and always costing 5 is going to be the real issue here. It is cool that it's Simic hybrid, so you can play it in a couple different decks. I just don't know if you necessarily will. I'm gonna give it a 2.4. It's okay. Slither Encrypted is 2 and a Simic hybrid for a 2/3 Fish Mutant. When this creature enters, you create a mutagen token. So is this something good to bounce or blink? A little bit. The mutagen token's not nothing. 2/3 for 3 is not very good. But the mutagen token might make up for that in some decks. I actually probably need a copy of this for my Sabsunan commander deck, because that's a deck that wants to get 1/1 counters on Sabsunan. I think I've got like a lot of explore stuff there, like making a lot of map tokens to do that, but mutagen tokens does that better than the map tokens do. So I might need to get a copy of this guy. But outside of that, though, we're talking about Pauper. And Pauper, I don't think it's quite there. Let's give it a 2.7. Yeah, 2.7. Omni Cheese Pizza is 2 mana for an artifact that's a food. When this artifact enters, you draw a card. Good so far. You can pay 1, tap, and sacrifice this artifact to add 1 mana of any color. Okay. Or you can pay 2 mana, tap, and sacrifice this to gain 3 life, like a food. Okay. So it's I was going to say it's a Prophetic Prism, but it's not exactly, because Prophetic Prism can keep doing this turn over turn. But it's like what the hell's it called? Chromatic Star. Yeah, it's a little bit like a Chromatic Sphere too. Yeah. This draws the card when it enters, though, so you can still do blinky bouncy fun things with it. And it can gain you the life too. You know, these things both cost 1, but there might be some play for something like this. You know, we played Instant Ramen, or tried out Instant Ramen in Final Fantasy, and I think this one's just as worthy of trying out. You know, I think your Lembas is still gonna probably be the gold standard for this, and Prophetic Prism is still pretty good when it comes to Tron decks, but this is not terrible, and it is a food too, so you can gain some life. I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna give this a 4.2, and then a plains and an island and a swamp and a mountain and a forest, and hey, we got a couple things left. Foot Headquarters is a land that enters tapped, and when it enters, you gain 1 life. Hang on, you just put the gain lands in. You just put the gain lands in. You just didn't call them the gain land things. It's great. Well, that's what we needed, is more differently named gain lands. Thanks, I guess. All right, gain land, gain land, gain land, gain land. Escape Tunnel. That's a reprint. It's not a bad one. It's just strictly better than an Evolving Wilds, right? You can have a creature with power 2 or less not be blocked. That's not bad. Escape Tunnel, though, we've had it. We've had it since Murders, and I don't know. It's good. It's good. The worst issue here is that you play the landscapes, right? You play the landscapes over Escape Tunnel and Evolving Wilds and the other ones almost every time, because they come in and they tap for mana if you need them immediately, but they can also crack themselves to go find the right color of mana that you're looking for. But this does have some utility of being able to sacrifice his land. Target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked. Maybe that matters for some kind of ninja style effect, or maybe that matters if you do this and then load the creature up with a bunch of equipment or auras or something and make it real big. Or in like an elf deck, you crack this on a creature and then you use, Timber Watch Elf or something like that can make your creature real big. And so it already can't be blocked, and now you've made it bigger because and the effect is still there because it only mattered that it can't be blocked, that it got this effect when it had power 2 or less, not that it continues to have power 2 or less. So Escape Tunnel is pretty good. I'll give it a 4.4, I guess. That's it. We're out of cards. We did it. We did the thing. Let's go back to the top here. Let's go images. There you go. See more of the cards there. That is the full review. The Pauper Buyer's Guide of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Magic set. I still don't really like that we're doing Universes Beyond in Standard. I don't like that we're doing Universes Beyond sets that feel so different from Magic the Gathering. I think I can be begrudgingly interested in something like Dungeons and Dragons and Lord of the Rings, and I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, but even Final Fantasy in Magic still feels a little bit weird, but those feel like adjacent to Magic properties. This kind of doesn't. This doesn't. This doesn't to me. I don't really like it there. But I think we have some pretty good cards here. Some that I'm not particularly excited about being excited about, I don't really want to have Leonardo cards and Raphael cards in my Pauper decks. But I think a couple of those are pretty good. And then I think there's a couple of cards that are just pretty darn solid. I was really surprised by that pizza, that marshmallow and that guacamole and marshmallow pizza. I think was pretty good. That shredder card was also pretty good as a ninja, a black ninja that can sneak and draw you cards. So I think there wasn't a heck of a lot from Spider-Man that I thought was interesting at all. And I think the cards that even gained like a passing interest, like the City Pigeon, ended up kind of being like, this is kind of nothing. I think some of the cards in here are going to be something. And I don't think you can completely turn your brain off from this set, which unfortunately I really wanted to turn my brain off for this set and go like, nope, complete skip, don't care. And I think unfortunately for me, there's a handful of cards here that I think I'm gonna have to pick up and test out with and might have a lot of fun with. So good on the design as always. I think Magic Design does some really solid work when it comes to just making the cards. But I still don't particularly like the Universes Beyond. But anyway, that's been it. We'll still review these cards if we ever see them in our 10 cards. If we're rating our normal common knowledge weekday ratings that we do. And those scores might be slightly different than the ones here because maybe I'll have future knowledge, or maybe I will have just forgotten what I gave all these cards. Probably more the second one. And but yeah, thanks for joining me on this one. These are always fun to do, and look forward to doing the next set, which will not be Universes Beyond, and I'll be very excited about that. So see you in Strixhaven. Bye.